related to injury and illness reporting.
You can see your records.
Got the right to see your records?
You have a right to report all your illnesses and injuries without repercussions.
You have the right to take them with you if you need.
Yeah, and you have the right, every company has to post the next handout. It's a OSHA 300 form. It's 300A. It has a list of all the injuries that happen and to the different workers that you, or the different people that work for the company. C6, I think it is. Handout 6, OSHA's Form 300. Log of work-related injuries and illnesses. Now this doesn't have, you guys have the right to review this for your company, and every company has to fill it out. And it has a person's name, has what job they are, these are work-related.
Read that second one, Mike. Injury. The second one is gunshot wound in the left shoulder from ex-wife.
Yeah.
She was on the third shift.
It happened at work. There's an OSHA report about it. When I went through the instructor training, we read part of that report. Yeah.
That's real.
No, she came, she came to the job site.
So that's real. That's not made up.
Okay, so our rights are basically to see our records and work it out.
Yeah, you have, I think I got these might in the wrong order. Okay. Somewhere we might have passed this, but we should have already looked at this, I think. So this Mary, I'll get to that in just a second. This 300 form, while we got it out, let's finish covering it. It talks about what job title you are. Now that may or may not apply. Date of the injury, where it occurred. See, this dude, Pat James, got shot in the maintenance department.
With the revolver.
It's like flu. Talks about what the injury was and what parts of the body got hurt. And then it says check only one. It tells you, I can't even read this. Okay, whether you died or not, days away from work, if you remained at work, whether you had any kind of restrictions or anything else that went with it. Days away from work and restrictions, and then it kind of identifies the injury in 6 different categories. And then they total them up at the end of the, at the bottom. At the end of the year, they have to turn this report into OSHA. Joe?
Yeah, like the gunshot wound, it's not work related, but it happened at work.
It happened at work.
So it would still be like an OSHA deal.
It's still OSHA, it's still reportable, but the reason it's OSHA is because it happened at work. That's because OSHA covers everything that happens in the workplace.
Right. Even gunshots.
So yeah. So the person who pulled the trigger might not have worked there, but it happened inside the door, and maybe they have security.
Yeah, it has to.
And maybe their security was lax, or maybe it's a place anybody can walk in on the street and security is not an issue. So, depending on the company and the requirements of the company, this may or may not be a big deal as far as the fact that this lady got a gun in it. So, if it's out the site and they bring a gun in, that's a big deal. And I promise you more than one head would roll if that was the case. Because they have security measures they have to check, and there's multiple checkpoints that you go through. So, if it's like if you worked in a welding shop where there's just a door to the front office and a door off to the side back to the shop, there's no controls there. So that really wouldn't go against the company per se if OSHA came down and inspected. So, okay. What are some of the worker rights related to injury and illness reporting? Review your medical records. You have the right to review that 300 log that the employers fill out. You have the right to check anything back for the last 5 years. And that's it. Okay, that's it. Okay, name some of the standards or hazards. Standards or hazards where workers must be trained. MSDS's, you got to be trained on that. Lockout, tag out. Bloodborne pathogens, if that's applicable. Any kind kind of safety training?
Any kind of safety training pertaining to that job site. Where is that from, like, definition?
I couldn't hear you, Joe.
Any hazard or safety training needed for that particular job?
Yeah, right. Any job, I mean, if you have to climb something, you need to be trained on ladder safety, you need to be trained on your harness and your climbing safety. So if your job requires that, you need to be trained on it, okay? If your job requires you to do anything safety related, they have to provide that training. Unless it's part of the employment that you have that from a previous, you're trained from a previous set of training. That could be terms of employment. They might not have the ability to train you, so, but those are probably few and far between. Okay, what responsibilities does your employer have?
Pay for your personal protective equipment.
Do what? I can't hear down here.
Employers must pay for your personal protective equipment.
They have to pay for PPE, that's true. Not all PPE, but they have to pay for the ones that are considered general.
Do they pay for the training courses you go to? Usually not.
Do they pay for the training courses? I don't know that that's a definite. Any course I went through my companies, they paid for.
I know Lamb Weston paid for mine.
I know, yeah, but I don't know if that's a requirement, that they have to pay for any training. I mean, they have, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Are you talking about like CPR training?
No, like
Or-
if they send you like an on-site SIGR training.
If it's required for the job,
Yeah.
yeah, then they should pay for the training, yeah. All right, provide training required by any OSHA standard. They have to do that. They have to keep records of your injuries and illnesses. They have to provide medical exams where required by OSHA. So like if you're a asbestos worker, they have to provide a medical exam for you, okay? If you're a radiation worker, they have to provide a whole body exam or a general exam for you. So, and they have to document that they provide that. Can't discriminate you. Section 11C, remember that. Section 11C of the OSHA Act. Okay? They have to post any OSHA citations and abatement verification notices. And they have to provide and pay for PPE. Now, PPE, that is, they have to provide safety glasses, hard hats. They don't have to provide really warm clothing. Okay? They don't have to provide that. If you have to go outside and work, they might not have to provide you with a coat or, you know, super warm gloves, you know, that kind of stuff. But, and we'll go over a list here in a minute. OSHA citations. If OSHA gives you a citation, that citation has to be posted for 3 days or until it's taken care of, until they fix the citation. So they have to post it for a minimum of 3 days, and then until they get this thing fixed. That way everybody, and it has to be posted in a place that everybody walks by, a general access point, so that everybody can read it if they want to. Okay? That way your employees should know that you guys had an OSHA citation and for what reason. Okay, employers must. These are reports they have to make. Report each worker death. Each incident that hospitalizes 3 or more workers. They have to maintain records for you. Inform workers how to report an injury or an illness. So, and that's getting to be a big thing now, is reporting illnesses and injuries. And they should tell you in your orientation their company policies towards it. Some companies now are actually, if you get hurt at work and you don't report it, then this is another way for companies to save money. Then they'll try to say that their insurance won't pay for you if you got hurt at work and don't report it. So, but they have to tell you all that at company training. Any records that they keep on you or these logs for 5 years, they have to make available to you. And if OSHA guy comes in, OSHA has to have access to those records too. And this annual summary of injuries and illnesses, that's at handout 6, which I think I forgot to put in.
What about your medical records? 'Cause,
There's handout 6.
I know, but they blacked out some of mine before they gave them to me from the nurse's notations at the plant. Is that?
I have no idea why they would ever do that. Yeah.
I do believe they have the ability to, I went to that OSHA court recording training last summer, they have the ability to do it if it's a privacy issue, they can not disclose things for that reason, but that's the only thing I am aware of.
If it's her records,
Yeah.
for her,
Yeah, it should.
then why would it be blacked out?
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe nurses' names were blacked out, or,
No, I mean, almost complete paragraphs.
Oh, that ain't right. Having your medical records redacted like that ain't right.
doesn't make sense.
No.
And so they were supposed to be transmitting or sharing all the nurses' records with my doctor. And when I asked him for it to, the same ones were blacked out.
Cover up, yes.
How do they, keep the confidentiality with medical records, because I know there's that law with medical records, people can't look at them, so an employer has the right to your medical records. They basically see anything in your past that you've had or done, or.
Are you talking about your employer seeing medical records from something previous, from a previous employment, or?
Well, are they only allowed to see things related that have happened to work? Like, let's say you get hurt at work, they can see that medical history, but they're not allowed to see the other medical history, correct?
Right, employers, what we're talking about here is employers that maintain medical records on you for anything that happens at work, or if they have a doctor and you go see that doctor, anything that that company provides, they have the ability to see. Now, I think that's where some stuff should be screened out. I don't know how they take care of that, but
If you go for
I'm not saying your
work-related
employer.
visit, and they're saying, well, you got this too, and it's totally unrelated to work, but it's the doctor's visit from work, if they notice it, they'd still file that.
Maybe I'm not understanding here. Are you wanting to know if you have the right to see all your records that are maintained by?
No, I'm just curious if the company, let's say you go to the doctor for being injured at the workplace, and why going and treat your injury, they find out you have something else unrelated to the work injury.
Okay.
But because the same doctor that is looking at your work-related injury files that,
Now the company knows you have hepatitis.
To me-
they're gonna have to separate that and give part of it to the
Could be
employer.
true.
and part of it- I'm just curious.
Right. That I don't know the answer to.
That would be discrimination.
I don't know the answer to that. I know that if you file an injury report or an illness report with your company, then if you go to your boss and say, hey, I got hurt, or I breathe these fumes and I got sick, I'm going to the doc. They can't tell you, but they have to know the results of that injury or illness report, because they have to know how to keep that from happening in the future. Or but they have to keep, I mean, it's federal law, they have to keep track of it. If you're saying if they found something else out while you were there that Dennis had hepatitis C, then yes, now that, I don't think that's applicable to the illness report, so I don't think that gets returned to the company, but that's only my opinion. I don't know that for sure. That might be something to, somebody write that down and I'll try to find it out.
I got an addendum to that.
We're not taking breaks today. OSHA only requires one break every 7.5 hours.
Yeah, I noticed too.
It feels like it's been 7.5 hours.
Okay.
We're there.
I'll try to find this out and report that back to you, because that's a good question. All right. Okay. You guys really need a break?
Yeah, I want to smoke a cigarette. I can live without it, I'll just sit back here and pull these guys' hair out, it's all right.
All right, take 5. Take 7. Take 7, but please hurry back, because we're not going to get done if you don't.